sorry. Don't want any copyright strikes down here when you come to visit me. But what you heard now was one of the records that I found today when I took a nice visit to Bromma and the store Bromma Records. A place where I go to now and then, not that often, but maybe 3 or 4 times every year. And every time I get there, I feel really like at home, because it's a very friendly atmosphere there. And not just that, they have lots of great records. So I went there today. I had an idea on how much to spend, and I tend to spend a bit more actually, but I think it was definitely worth it. So I'm going to show you what I found and say a few words about them. What you heard some notes from in the beginning of this video was the Brazilian multi-instrumentalist, well, singer, vocalist, accordion player and guitar player Sivuca. This guy with a friendly big beard and such a playful attitude to music at all. Well, he's done loads of records on his own, but also loads of records with other artists, and also he has been guest artist playing on many other great artists' albums. And of course I haven't heard all of them, but they tend to improve the album a great lot because of his certain style. And I watched a clip here on YouTube earlier from a performance that he did in Sweden in 1969 together with clarinet player Putte Wickman and singer Monica Zetterlund, and it was really great. Sivuca has been quite popular in Sweden even back in the 60s, which was probably before they heard about him in the United States. Well, I get that impression anyway, because it's first in the 1970s that he tend to appear on American albums. And that was before he had glasses and this big white beard, so you can't really recognize him if you're used to what he looks like here. I found 2 Brazilian Sivuca albums on both on the Copacabana label. This, okay, I really beg your pardon because my Portuguese here isn't, but this is called Cabelo de Milho from 1980, and this Vou Vida Afora from 1981. I don't know, but I mean, I still haven't heard a Sivuca album that isn't great and that makes you happy, and this is just another good example. I'm very happy I found them, and they weren't that expensive either. I've been looking for some early albums with Brazilian singer Gal Costa. You see, we stay in Brazil. I haven't been that very lucky, but I found this one that is, well, not super early, but it's from 1980. It's Dutch issue though. I think the recordings are from 1971. Gal Tropical. Such a beautiful artist with a great voice, and she still is. She's still alive, but I mean, back then she was quite brave, because she really took some risks when she openly criticized the Brazilian government, and well, of course there were many reasons to criticize that. So I have very much respect for her artistry for that reason as well, not just that she's a very good singer and makes good records. So I've started to collect her lately. I haven't been that lucky, as I said, finding her albums, but today I found Gal Tropical. Usually at Bromma Records there are some nice crates with great soul records too, so I've checked those out and found some nice ones, nice records here. The Bar Case from 1972, Do You See What I See? Album on the Volt label, sleeves a bit worn, but the actual record is fine. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will soon. Oh, I should put down these. Yeah. Then I found Cherries, Bananas and Other Fine Things by Janie Reynolds. On the Casablanca label, this is Disco from 1976. I got a bit curious about this because I didn't know about her. I hadn't really heard about her. And when I started exploring her on Google, on internet anyway, I found out that, I've listened to some of her songs. Such a talented singer, but such a tragic end to her life. After her second album, she had some problems, mental problems, and the tragedy was, total when she first killed her two children and then committed suicide in 1980. So I didn't expect that kind of tragic ending, but maybe that's one reason why we haven't heard that much about her. But it's such a pity because very good voice. I think she could sing in many different kinds of styles too. Very varied. So very big pity. I think most here probably maybe have heard about the Fruit song, even if they've not been that aware of who sang it. But it was Janie Reynolds. Right. Talk about tragic ending. We have the saxophone player King Curtis and the Kingpins. I found this very lovely Atco mono issue of Kingsized Soul. King Curtis was, as you may know, killed by some drug dealers who just happened to stand in King Curtis' way when he wanted to pass. And feels very random and so sad. It wasn't back in 1971, just a couple of years after this was issued. Okay, some more soul then. We have the vocal group The Dells. Freedom Means. The Dells, I think they started back in the 1950s, as early as that, as a doowop group, and they turned later into a vocal soul group. I have a single, which is probably one of the most famous recordings, I Can Sing Rainbow. This is an album from 1970, 72 I think, on the Cadet label. Freedom Means. It is a cutout, not very nice, but what can you do? It wasn't that expensive though. Yeah. Then I found this really odd compilation on Pickwick, a Canadian compilation on Pickwick. You see, I can't even pronounce the names of these low budget labels. No. Jackson 5, and it's a double album. Very cartoony and almost superhero like. Not sure where these recordings are made or taken from, but they include introductions by Bill Cosby, Tommy Smothers, and Rosie Greer, not sure about how to pronounce it. If Bill Cosby and Tommy Smothers introduced them, it must be taken from some sort of TV show, but I don't know. I tried to find out some more about this album online, but haven't really been told, and I haven't listened to it yet since I bought it today. But now to a record that I've been listening to and that I'm very happy that I found. It was the last record I found just before I was heading to the counter, and this is also the reason why the sum of money I spent today on records became a bit higher than I expected. It's a German group, the Singing End, and their album Listen to the Music from 1970, and it's a Swedish issue on the Swedish label Annette that I've been talking about here in this vlog before. I'm a collector of that label. They mainly made like soft pop and dance band. It was the drummer of the dance band Cool Candies, who owned it. And so I'm not really sure how this German group ended up. I mean, it's not a Swedish recording, it's a German recording made in Junkersdorf and Godorf in December 1970. But so I'm really curious to find out how this group ended up on the Swedish Annette label. Anyway, this is brilliant psychedelic vocal pop with them singing in choirs and a bit like Beach Boys sometimes, and then they turn a bit like Blood, Sweat and Tears, and then it turns a bit like some early rock and roll heavy metal on some tracks, and then it turns very soft again. But it's very varied, and the leader of this group is a man called Rainer Pietsch. He plays the piano, organ, bass and acoustic guitar and sings, and he composed all the titles. I don't know how famous he is in Germany, but he seemed like he was a real pop genius, this Rainer Pietsch. So I have to find out more about him. He's not alive anymore, I know as much. But if you find this album, I can tell you right away, it's rare. It's really, really rare. And but it's quite known here among collectors as a record that is very good. And so it was a bit expensive, but definitely worth it. Superb psychedelic pop, also very not too trippy, not too far out. Still, it's controlled psychedelia in some sort of German tradition. I don't know, but it's very good, and I'm very happy I found this. This was the best catch of today. The singing end. Listen to the music, as it's called. There. Okay, oh yes, the second best catch today is a record that I've been hunting for a couple of years, and it has been very difficult to get hold of. More difficult than I expected when I started hunting for it. It is the second album of the French, Vanessa Paradis. Pardon my French. Variations sur le même thème. From 1990. And this is one of the last, if not the last, project that Serge Gainsbourg, the old dirty genius, was involved in. And I've heard people talk about this as being probably the best French album of the 1990s. Well, I haven't heard that many French albums of the 1990s, although most of those I've heard I've enjoyed a lot. So, but I have to say this is super, and I'm greatly impressed by Vanessa Paradis. Her voice isn't, I mean, it's not that amazing, but she has a tendency to mix herself with really talented music people. Well, it would become even more obvious on the next album that she did together with Lenny Kravitz. But all her albums are very good, and I admire her very much. I think she's great, and I'm very happy I found it. But I didn't expect that it would be as difficult, because I've been searching for it actively for, well, a couple of years. I know that. Okay, the last record I'm going to that I found at Bromma Records is we first started in Brazil, then we went to America and Seoul, and then to Europe, and now we end up here. We'll stay in Europe, and Italian Anna Aqsa. This is the Italian singer Anna Aqsa. It's her second album, and it's called Anna Aqsa as well, and it's from 1979 on the RCA Italia label. I haven't heard it yet, but I've heard some of Anna Aqsa's songs before, so I thought, well, why not? You rarely see her albums here in Sweden. Alright, two albums I'm showing here were not bought at Bromma Records. They were bought a day ago at the flea market, and just going to show you. It's a Danish group shooby. It's an early compilation album called Værste. And shooby, they were a pop group that mixed nice pop and rock together with their comedy lyrics, various weird lyrics. Often they made Danish lyrics to famous international pop songs, and with some sort of comedy twist to them. And they are extremely big and respected in Denmark. Nobody's heard about them, or almost nobody has heard about them here in Sweden. I heard about them the first time in the 80s when they had a bit of a hit with a song called We Wanna Be Free. Well, that was mainly made known by some Swedish dance bands here in Sweden, but they also performed in a television show called Music Party, where Swedish, Danish and Norwegian artists performed and showed some of their latest hits. And some of the songs that were in that show, or those two shows, because there were two of them, became quite big. And one of them was We Wanna Be Free with shooby. But in Denmark they are as big as you can get. And I'm happy that I found this early compilation disc with Killing Me Softly in the Danish version, Kylling med soft ice, which means chicken with soft ice cream. Killing Me Softly, Killing Me Soft Ice. Yeah, it's obvious, isn't it? Alright, the final record I'm going to show you, I mainly bought because it's very old and I like the sleeve. It's classical music for people who hate classical music, on the RCA Red Seal label. Red Seal, with Boston Pops Orchestra, and conducted by the legendary Arthur Fiedler. This is an RCA record from 1953, so it's really old. And we have, 11 different selections with very famous classical music, and probably a bit shorter because you wouldn't fit as much music on this album if that wasn't the case. So I think it was a fun issue and fun sleeve. I've seen a similar album once. I haven't got it, but I've seen it, like jazz music for people who hate jazz music or something like that. I think that also was on RCA, but my memory may fool me. Right, well, that's it for this time. I hope some of you enjoyed this video, and feel free to make a comment, or maybe press a like, or maybe, well, do whatever you want. But thanks for watching, and have a great time, and play a record today. Bye for now.